Alamo Drafthouse rises from the dead as HBO Max changes its subscription options. Thor 4 teases cutting-edge technology in its production, and The Mitchells vs. Machines premieres on Netflix. I'm Darius Delsoin.
And I'm Joe Acierno. This is Cinema Unchained. Welcome back to Cinema Unchained, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the return of Alamo Drafthouse, HBO Max throwing us some crumbs in terms of its new pricing plans, the new technology that's being boasted on the production of Thor, Love and Thunder, and lastly, we're going to be capping off the show with our review of the new film, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, and as I've said so many times on the show before, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, and hit the bell to get all notifications whether you're on Apple, Spotify, or Google Podcasts, the Podcast Index, or YouTube. And you see those social media pages in the description. They're there for a reason. That means you have to like them and you have to follow them. Now, before we get into Thor 4's new StageCraft technology, according to Variety, after declaring bankruptcy, prominent movie theater chain Alamo Drafthouse is set to reopen 15 of their locations in May, which include spots in New York, Dallas, and Los Angeles. Now, Darius, how do you feel about this?
Honestly, this is cool. I know there's an Alamo Drafthouse, I believe in Brooklyn, and I've always wanted to go to it, but I think there was a certain age limit, mainly because it was like alcohol and that sort of thing. And I think Alamo, I think this is a good sign. Really on all fronts, not just for Alamo, of course, especially coming back after bankruptcy and everything. But I think where the movie industry is going forward from here. We already know AMC has reopened some stuff, if not everything is reopened for AMC, but still limited capacity with their seating. So seeing another chain like Alamo coming back as well, who is relatively, I guess, smaller in a sense compared to AMC, it's still great to see. I mean, obviously, Mortal Kombat, Godzilla vs. Kong shows that, and those viewerships shows people are going to the theaters, and even with a limited capacity, it is being capped almost all the time. So it is great to see Alamo is following the footsteps, and at least it's like, let's give it a shot. I mean, Black Widow is about to come out soon, so a bunch of other movies are about to come out soon, so I guess theaters are trying to get in on this. So, I mean, what were your thoughts when you heard about this as well?
Well, I'm going to be honest, it's kind of funny that you mentioned how you always wanted to go to the location in Brooklyn. And I'm going to be honest with you, I tried going to the location one time in Brooklyn. Now, for those of you who don't know, Alamo Drafthouse has a real stickler policy of people not walking in late to the theater during the show, which I'm going to be honest, I do understand. Yeah. That being said, when you're at the butt end of that policy, it kind of sucks, I'm not going to lie, because I'll never forget, I don't even remember what we were going to see a couple years ago. I was going with my then-girlfriend at the time. I'm not going to blame us, because, of course, we would never be late, right? It's not our fault. I'm going to blame the R train, because we were taking it from St. John's in Queens. We had to take the bus to connect to the subway, and the R train, of course, was just taking its sweet time for whatever reason. We got there, and we weren't allowed to go in. They gave us our money back, but that doesn't change the fact that I was mad, and that doesn't change the fact that when I first found out that they were filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, I'm like, oh no, how could this possibly happen to Alamo Drafthouse? So, I mean, yeah, listen, it's definitely a good sign. Like, all kidding aside, it's definitely a great sign that another movie theater chain is opening up again, because they have to anticipate all these other, like, big potential blockbuster films, like Black Widow, like you mentioned, like In the Heights. I think that's going to be a huge hit. But at the same time, I'm sticking with AMC. So, Alamo Drafthouse. Yeah. A little lukewarm on you. Not going to lie.
I mean, like,
good for you, I guess.
Like, I love AMC. Obviously, AMC's been around for years, and I've always gone to AMC theater. That's always been the staple of my movie-going experience. Of course, Regal and multiplex cinemas have been around, but AMC has always been a staple. But knowing Alamo Drafthouse, and especially hearing things that I think my dad went to, or some other family member I have went to it, and they really liked it, and they even told me, yeah, there's like an age restriction, that sort of thing. I was like, man, I kind of want to go just to see the experience, and I've heard some good, decent things, especially the one in Brooklyn. So I am curious. Again, this is exciting that they're coming back. It's exciting for movies in general. So it's just a matter of just seeing where it goes. Is this going to be a temporary one within only a few months? Or is it actually going to be like into the next 2022 as well? Considering 2022 is yet again another dumping ground for a bunch of films.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I'm assuming those good things you heard about Alamo Drafthouse are only from people who were actually allowed to go into the theater because they were on
Yeah,
time. Yeah,
obviously.
but yeah, no. Again, like I said, like all kidding aside, it is a good thing, but at the same time, like Alamo Drafthouse, screw you, but screw you, but I'm happy for you at the same
Exactly.
time. So now I'm curious as far as to what you guys are thinking. Are you guys pumped for Alamo Drafthouse's Return from the Dead? Did you ever get denied an entrance for one of their shows because you were late? Leave your thoughts in that comment section there below. Yes, laugh at my pain, Darius. Go right ahead. Go right ahead. Now,
I
before
always
we
do.
get yeah, as per usual, right? Why would today be any different? Now, before we get into HBO Max's new pricing plans, according to Screen Rant, photos were teased of the filming process for Thor: Love and Thunder, and the production boasts new StageCraft technology, similar to that technology that was used during the filming of The Mandalorian. Now, Darius, I know you really wanted to get into this, so like, why don't you elaborate for everybody, like, what exactly this sort of technology entails, like, what exactly it is, like, what's so great about it, and what makes you so excited for it. So, I'm gonna let
Yeah,
you take the reins on this
one
one.
of the, of course, one of the great things about Stagecraft technology is that it was also built by or co-built by ILM, and ILM, if you don't know, is Industrial Light and Magic, pretty much a new staple of visual effects, especially when it was founded for Star Wars. And so, what this technology essentially is, think of it as like the Star Trek holodeck, but it's actually almost there. Again, it's not exactly that, but it's basically a large hub or silo of a bunch of LED or mini LED panels around the actors and potentially crew as well. Mainly the actors, and the great thing about the stagecraft technology is that you can actually implement a 3D scene right then and there without having to do any compositing just yet, compared to using the regular green screen technology that a lot of people know and have used in indies and even feature films as well. So with this stagecraft is that whatever you see in the camera is actually in the camera, including that 3D set. It's just the illusion that it looks like it. And when you move the camera, there's also a parallax movement to go with it, so it seems seamless and it flows really well from scene to scene and everything among those lines. And I've always been following this ever since it was announced with Mandalorian. It was used on Mandalorian at first. Westworld started to use it. Even the Midnight Sky has used it as well. And so seeing that another Disney property like Thor 4, which I'm already excited for, is
Same.
using Stagecraft, it's going to be really great.
So now, just to make sure, like I have like a good grasp on what it is that you're talking about for sure. So basically, again, instead of like seeing a green screen, like when we look at like a lot of times we look at behind the scenes videos of like certain films and TVs being made and filmed. Like you get a look at like what they're seeing through the camera, but they're seeing the actors in front of a green screen. Whereas with this technology, you're seeing a pretty close example of like what you would see like in the post production, right? Like it's a more accurate representation of like what you actually want the movie to look like, what you actually want the TV show to look like, as opposed to just seeing a green screen like in your camera.
Pretty much, essentially, if you think of how projectors work as well, and imagine you're filming someone in between the projector and there, and in the subject, is very similar to a projection mapping as well. Especially back in old school days of how films were made and how they tried to do the special effects and visual effects. That projector, and that's essentially what Stagecraft does, except it's just a bunch of mini LED panels around, and you have a more accurate representation of whatever they're trying to go for. And so it almost eliminates the need of green screen. I think you still need green screen for certain things, but it definitely helps with visualizing the set day
Mm-hmm.
of, and if you need to move things around, such as using Unreal Engine, which is a game engine that now they're using in film and television, that they can move, let's say, a mountain over here or a building over there, that sort of thing, right then and there. Of course, it's more complex and probably more time, but this technology is also including more jobs as well within this industry and new positions, which is also another great thing. And again, Thor 4, a Marvel movie, utilizing this as well is amazing. Obviously, it shows Disney is even more invested in this, other than announcing we're building 4 more, buildings and everything.
And it's interesting too because, and for a couple reasons, with in relation to Thor 4, and I guess the Thor franchise as a whole, if you really think about it, because even with the two Thor films that Taika Waititi has worked on alone, right? Thor Ragnarok and now Thor Love and Thunder. Thor Ragnarok, I'm assuming, used the green screen technology, and that had an impact on how that movie looked visually. So
Yeah.
now, I think it's safe to say that we're gonna see things look differently on the visual end with Thor Love and Thunder. And which is really interesting too, because usually when I think of Taika Waititi for whatever reason, like I don't think of him as like a big visual effects director, like like I would with like Steven Spielberg or James Cameron. But like I guess that really changes now because not only has he done Thor Ragnarok, he's done a few episodes of The Mandalorian, and now he's doing Thor Love and Thunder, and it's just interesting to see him kind of fit into that mold of a visual effects oriented director, which again is very interesting. Like I never would have thought to see this guy who seems to have a more quirky way of storytelling so much associated with pioneering visual effects technology. It's really interesting to watch, and it's just more proof as far as like how he's really come into his own as a really prominent filmmaker and just like a very talented artist all around.
Absolutely. I think Taika, because I think it's not. I do agree that he is a director that doesn't maybe focus heavily on visual effects, but I think the fact of how the workflow of using stagecraft is just making a lot of these productions a bit easier for people is what people are going for. And so if Marvel can use something like stagecraft for their films and even series, imagine the amount they can pump out every year compared to the usual film it on a green screen, you gotta composite this stuff, that sort of thing. Where now it's like, hey, little mini pre-built set, put it in the stagecraft. Now you have a 3D set and everything like that. And again, it's not going to be like, oh, this is the final image. Obviously, there's more to it in post production,
Of
but
course.
just that workflow of bringing your pre-production actually there on set as well is, and even in post just throughout, is really awesome and really great. Again, I've been following the stagecraft stuff ever since they announced it. I absolutely love it, so I can't wait to see where this technology goes in the future, because there's definitely a lot of improvements they can go for towards 10, 5 years, 12 years from now. So
Yeah, and you just imagine exactly like this is where we are now. Like this is one of those moments where like you ever like find out about a new piece of technology, no matter what it is, and you're like, and you could only imagine being in the future, but you're like, wait a minute, this is happening now. The future is now. Like that's how I feel when it comes to learning about this sort of technology, and it seems like this will lead to the decline of the need for green screen technology and compositing and all that sort of thing. Because for those of you guys who don't know, like Darius and I first met when we took like a digital imaging class, like back in high school. And one of the things first of all, there are a lot of programs that we had to learn in that class that drew me up a wall that made me yell at my computer. But I remember compositing was definitely one of them. So if someone tells me that like, oh, we're not going to need compositing as much, cool, awesome. But at the same time, again, it's this is a double-edged sword too, because if I couldn't get something like compositing, what makes me think that I could possibly understand how to do this new stuff even more? So,
it's like every 5 minutes. Dang it! I can't do this, or darn it, I don't remember.
I'll never forget. I was working on a project. Forgot what project it was exactly, but like our computer, our program, for whatever reason, it just wasn't working for me. And I was just like letting my feelings be known to the computer because it's obviously listening. And my partner is going, "Stop cursing!" And I'm like, "No, I can't. It's just not going for me." Oh man,
It's
but
funny because
honestly,
he doesn't like compositing, but I kind of do. So
yeah, yeah. If that wasn't obvious enough, computers and I don't always get along. I've got a very bipolar relationship when it comes to technology. But like, oh no, this is despite my mixed relationship with technology and I guess just artistic technology overall, this new development is absolutely insane. Just like the fact that like you're gonna be able to skip what feels like so many steps and just make that filming process that much easier. I mean, like Darius, I'm sure you agree.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm excited for the future of this. ILM yet again makes another staple in cinematic history and visual effects, so I'm all for it.
So, now, just out of curiosity, what do you guys think of this new piece of machinery? What do you guys think of this new technology here? And how do you think it'll benefit Thor 4? And how do you think it benefited The Mandalorian? Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section there below. And once again, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, and hit the bell to get all notifications, whether you're on Apple, Spotify, or Google Podcasts, the Podcast Syntax, or YouTube. And again, those social media pages are, of course, still there for a reason. They're there for you to like, they're there for you to follow, and they're there for you to share as well. Now, before we get into our review of The Mitchells versus The Machines, according to The Verge, HBO Max released a plan for a cheaper, ad-ridden tier for a subscription that will cost $9.99 a month as opposed to the regular $14.99 monthly plan. Darius, what do you think of this new development? Are you entertained? Are you satisfied with this?
No.
Yeah.
To keep it short, I think, like I said, HBO Max has quite a bit of stuff. I mean, especially this year, now that they're having their new movies released on HBO Max. Godzilla vs. Kong apparently had a bunch of viewings opening weekend, that sort of thing. Even Mortal Kombat to a certain degree as well. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yeah, that's a whole other thing. But just the amount of content that they're putting out and seeing how they're like, okay, because let's face it, $50 a month for HBO Max specifically, where they don't have a lot of content, I don't think a lot of people will want to put their money to that compared to Netflix, where they have just a slew of everything. And so them putting in a sort of $10 a month sort of deal every month, but you have commercials. Not only that, you get commercials, but I don't even, if I, correct me if I'm wrong, the new movies aren't even going to be available for you.
Really? I didn't know that.
I don't believe so, so it's really weird and interesting for them to do. Not really weird because it kind of makes sense. Because hey, let's put charge less essentially, and to put commercials in. I mean, Netflix doesn't even do that. So I don't know. That's a mixed bag. For me personally, I just go for the 15 a month at this point. So at least I can see the new movies or whatever it may be coming out. If people want to see new movies at home instead of in the theater, it's I don't know if it was a good right choice, but it is a decision they made, and we're just gonna have to see how it plays out, how people react to it. If people don't care about commercials or whatever, then maybe it's successful. But me personally, I'm just like, nah, no,
I don't
I don't
know.
like commercials.
I don't know if I can agree with you. I can't wait to pay $10 more a month just to watch commercials. But no, all sarcasm aside, like, no, I don't have HBO Max now, and I'm probably still not going to get it as a result of this. Because, at least in my mind, paying $10 for a streaming service to have commercials,
Yeah, like you're not
no.
paying a streaming service for commercials. You're paying a streaming service to watch what you want to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Without, again, being interrupted by a new fucking Tide ad or, like, some stupid ass, the new progressive commercials, right? Because Flo the Progressive Lady never gets old, right? But no, honestly, like I said, I referred to this as HBO Max throwing us crumbs when I reintroduced everything that we're going to be talking about today. I still stand by that. Like, this is, don't worry, we'll level with you guys. We'll level with you guys. We'll only take off a third of the price, but you still have to watch commercials. Like, no, not buying it. Not good enough. No.
Yeah. It's like at that point you might as well just get the full tier, or if you want, wait next year because they're gonna put all their movies in theaters and not on HBO Max anymore. So it's this weird battle where it's like, okay, now you do it in April. We're closing into the middle of the year, right? And so it's like, would I recommend people do it? I don't think so. I mean, you do what you want to do with your money. But that's all you. But for me, I'm just like, I have family members for streaming services I use, so I'm good.
Yeah, again, again, that's a good point too. Like, obviously, if you obviously all do what you want with your money, but if you're gonna, pay $10 to watch commercials, don't do my taxes anytime soon. So just out of curiosity, guys, what do you think of this new plan? Do you think it levels enough? Like, is it actually worth it? Leave your thoughts in the comment section there below. And now, to cap off the show with the review, with the segment that I've been looking forward to the most since I finished watching this about an hour ago. We're going to be talking about The Mitchells vs. the Machines, a new animated family film that debuted on Netflix this past Friday. The film follows a dysfunctional family's road trip as it's uprooted by the apocalyptic machine uprising, and they must use their quirkiness to somehow save humanity. Darius, my guy, what did you think of this?
Phil Lord and Chris Miller, I know they did not direct this or write this, but my God, they know how to bring it as far as producers. And this movie just, I was already excited for it, but to me, this reminded me of Into the Spider-Verse in a way where it's so heartfelt and so emotionally grounded, and they actually take the time to talk and show us. And I absolutely love this movie. Had an amazing time. It was funny, paced really well as well. Like it, even though like at some points you would think it's a short movie, but because they delve into the emotional aspects of this film, it took it home from me. I cried 3-4 times. I love this film.
I wasn't the only one. Yes, I was not the only one. Okay, so honestly, I fucking adored this movie. I did not think I was gonna. I thought I would like it. I did not think I would enjoy it as much as I did. I didn't think I would get as much out of it as I thought I would. Now, again, I'm gonna be real with you guys for a second. I wasn't sure if we were doing the show today. Wasn't sure if we had enough to do. So I'm like, oh, like, does it make sense for me to watch this movie just for the show that I'm not sure we're gonna do? Thank God we did the show today because I loved this movie so much. Loved it. It's hysterical. It's hysterical throughout, but at the same time, its sense of humor feels very much like its own. This is definitely not your run-of-the-mill family comedy, or
Yeah.
It's an odd concept that ends up being a very original piece of storytelling. Again, very much akin to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, very much akin to the Lego Movie, which again, all three of these films have similar teams working on it. I loved how, like I said, it was hysterical one moment, but at the same time, it's very emotionally satisfying too. Like I was I teared up a few times too. I did not expect to be that touched by this movie. I absolutely love the characters. I love the father-daughter conflict and foils that they have with each other. The movie has multiple comic reliefs too. You have the younger brother, who's just this socially awkward but lovable basket case, and then you have this dog, Munchie. Oh my God,
Munchie's the best.
Oh my God, I fucking love that dog. He is absolutely hysterical. He's got these like big, stupid, like crooked eyes, this chubby bulldog face. Oh man, I absolutely loved him. But oh my God, and I just love how, because like I said, excuse me, where'd you go? These three films, Mitchells vs. Machines, Lego Movie, and Spider-Verse had similar teams working on it, and there are a lot of ways where the Mitchells vs. Machines is similar and kind of matches with the Lego Movie and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but at the same time, it still feels very much like its own movie, and I absolutely love that about this film.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this movie, again, and another thing I really liked about it are the jokes, so that they take some of the jokes simple and in the beginning, and then they just keep ramping that joke up even more. I'm like, wow, they're really gonna just go full throttle with this one. And again, like one of the aspects I absolutely love is the emotional aspects. We I feel that animated movies really do a great job at the emotional aspects, with really diving in and at least taking its necessary time to hone in on these moments. And I thought this movie did an even stellar job as well. And considering, again, another Sony Pictures animation film, and 2 for 2 right now, Into the Spider-Verse and now this, 2 for
Actually, I think
2.
Lego Movie was also Sony Animation, if I'm not
Oh, it
mistaken.
was.
Yeah, because all three of
I
these
thought that was
movies had.
WB.
I'm sorry.
I thought it was WB
Was
animation.
it WB? Oh wait, maybe they all just had Phil Lord and Christopher Miller working
Yeah, I
working on
think
them. That's
so.
probably again. I don't know for sure. Yeah, no. Lego Movie was definitely WB. I don't know if Sony had anything to do with. I don't know if they partnered with Sony on a Lego Movie.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
But again, like this movie absolutely blew my mind in both comedy, action, character development, a lot of those
animation.
things.
Animation. Here's
Animation.
I didn't
Oh,
I didn't expect to like the animation as much as I did too. Like it looked nice like at like face value when I watched the trailer, but a lot of things that I noticed too. I loved how they kind of there were like comic book like etchings of like thoughts and actions like Into the Spider-Verse, which again I
it's
thought that
actually
was
the
really
same
cool.
technology.
Yeah. And again, that's another thing I didn't expect to get from this sort of movie too, which now that I think about it, probably if I thought a little harder, probably could have expected it, but I didn't anyway, and I was pleasantly surprised. But now another thing, because you said how these three films are work so well in terms of like humor and emotion and character development, and I guess now we just talked about animation. The movie also works really well, like these other two films, in terms of like societal commentary, because I loved the dual commentary that this film has about social media and everyone being on their
Yep.
phones constantly, and like just social media's impact on society and how we're basically ruled and controlled a bit too much by social media. But at the same time, it also takes the angle of
And
how
sheep.
yeah, and it takes the angle of how she's basically able to express herself through social media. So it kind of it definitely errs on the side of like, okay, we're too much involved with our phones and everything like that. Like, we've almost become socially inept because, not almost, we have become socially inept because of it. But while it definitely leans more towards that end of the argument, it still
Hmm.
makes a strong case and it still very much values the other end of the argument where this is the only way that a lot of people can express themselves sometimes and kind of come into their own. So I loved that.
Yeah, not just using social media, but using film as a way for her to communicate how she feels as well. And I absolutely love that. It's just so well done, and even seeing the father's reactions to certain moments was absolutely
Oh,
spectacular. And seeing the father's mentality and the mental shifts, just all in all, this movie was absolutely amazing. And of course, the mom is just a outright badass, and you'll see why.
so now just curious, what did you guys think of the Mitchells versus the Machines? Did you love it because you actually have a sense of joy in your life, or did you hate it because you're dead inside? Leave your thoughts in the comment section there below. And just like that, this episode of Cinema Unchained is now over. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, and hit the bell to get all notifications whether you're on Apple, Spotify, or Google Podcasts, the Podcast Index, or YouTube. And again, the social media pages, they're crying out. They're crying out for you to like them, they're crying out for you to follow them, and share it with everybody else that you know.